Okay. Enemy air raid, Pearl Harbor, this is not a drill. Yes, we've taken you back to 7:55 a.m., December 7th, 1941. Imagine you were there that fateful morning. It started off as a peaceful Sunday morning, just like it is here today. Over 80 years ago, in Pearl Harbor at Hickam Field on the Hawaiian island of Oahu, our entire naval base has awakened, with most of the fleet peacefully anchored within the confines of the harbor. Experience the roar of the engines and the sounds of the bombs as the Imperial Japanese Navy sent the first wave of 189 fighters and bombers from Japan's First Air Fleet, led by Japanese Captain Fushida. The unprovoked surprise attack was so complete that the coded success signal, Tora, 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 was sent back to the carrier task force before the first bomb fell. A single remote radar station had spotted the incoming raiders, but mistook them for a flight of B-17s due in from the mainland. The B-17s arrive, and like America herself, find themselves in a war that had not yet been declared. The attack was from the Japanese aircraft carriers, the Akagi, Akaga, Hiru, Soru, and the two new carriers, the Shokuku and the Suikuku. The plan was simple: destroy the Pacific Fleet. The raid lasts for a little over 2 gruesome hours. Yes, you have a front row seat right here in the Pacific Theater as the bombing of Pearl Harbor unfolds in front of you. When the first bombs began to fall, pilots all over the island jumped into action. At Wheeler Field, Lieutenant Philip Rasmussen woke to the sound of bombs, jumping out of bed, strapping on a .45 caliber pistol over his purple pajamas, and ran to a working P-36 Hawk. He was joined by 4 more P-36 pilots, Lewis Sanders, Harry Brown, Gordon Sterling, and Malcolm Mike Moore. They took off to engage the attacking Japanese and managed to shoot them down. The enemy numbers were incredibly overwhelming. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the island, Kenneth Taylor and George Welsh were just returning from an all-night dinner, dance, and polka party. These brave pilots, still in their formal dress clothes, raced to a couple of P-40 Warhawks, got them fueled and armed, and took off. They quickly found themselves in the middle of a real battle. You might have noticed our P-36 Hawk and our P-40 taken off to go chase after the Japanese Zeros, Vals, and Kates. The 2 pilots caught up with the Japanese close to Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field and engaged the Zeros, Vals, and Kates with rounds of their .30 caliber machine guns. However, they quickly ran out of ammunition. Luckily, they were able to land at Wheeler Field, which is near the center of the island. They refueled and reloaded with .30 and .50 caliber ammo and took off once again to fight the Japanese. The 2 pilots were credited with downing a total of 6 Japanese warplanes before their own planes were disabled. Both pilots received a Distinguished Service Cross for their actions that infamous day. A total of 502 planes were on the ground at the beginning of the attack. Sadly, 188 were totally destroyed, 159 damaged, and 155 aircraft lay on the ground in various stages of disrepair. The first wave of 189 Japanese Zeros, Vals, and Kates hammered Hawaii for almost an hour. Then came the second wave of an additional 171 aircraft to continue the strafing and the bombing and dropping of torpedoes for yet another 70 minutes. Yeah, that's a total of 360 enemy warplanes. As the attack proceeded at Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field, the devastation was horrifying. On the eastern edge of Fort Island, in the center of the harbor, 9 battleships lay at berth. The California, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Tennessee, Maryland, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Utah, and Arizona. Luckily at the time, our 3 Pacific aircraft carriers were out at sea. First, the Japanese hit with Kate torpedo bombers. The initial wave of Kates hit 5 of our battleships, the Oklahoma, California, Nevada, West Virginia, and the Utah. These Kates were specially equipped with shallow-running torpedoes specifically designed for the attack on Pearl Harbor. You see the shallow waters at Pearl Harbor would not allow the use of normal deep-running torpedoes, which leaves no question that this was a well-thought-out plan and not a surprise attack. Then came the Bell dive bombers with 1,700 pounds of busting projectiles originally made for 16-inch battleship guns, but were converted to aerial bombs. These planes dived down onto the Nevada and the Arizona. Anti-aircraft fire veered the Bells away from the Nevada on the first wave, but unfortunately the Arizona was not that lucky. A bomb stabbed the Arizona through her forward magazine and exploded, torching off more than 1 million pounds of gunpowder. Sailors on the Nevada watched in horror as the Arizona jumped 20 feet in the air and broke in two, forever entrapping 1,178 American servicemen in an underwater tomb. The ship sank in less than 3 minutes, and still today she remains at the bottom of the harbor in a watery grave, crying black tears as a reminder to all who lost their lives that infamous day. At Marine Corps Air Station Iwa, Private First Class Melvin Thomas was on guard duty when 9 Zeros attacked the base. He stepped out of the guard shack, he drew his .45 caliber pistol and began firing on the enemy planes. A Japanese pilot, Yoshio Shiga, saw Thompson firing back at them, and years later remembered Thompson's tenacity and fighting spirit, describing him as the bravest American I've ever seen. All over the island, soldiers were bearing their weapons to bear and fight. Anything they could get working, their .45 caliber pistols or Springfield rifles. And in some cases, soldiers were able to get 30 and 50 caliber belt-fed machine guns into action, bringing down numerous marauding Japanese Zeros, Vals, and Kates. There's our Zeros right there, followed by our American P-36 Hawk. Kate torpedo bomber right there in the middle. Meanwhile, at Bellis Field Airfield on the northeastern coast of the island, more U.S. Army air pilots are racing for their P-40s. Unfortunately, Japanese Zeros appear at the same time and started strafing runs. One P-40 pilot was killed as he stepped into his cockpit. 2 other P-40 pilots were shot down just as they got off the ground. Also at this side of the island, Cornelia Fort was flying her interstate cadet just like Jelly Belly. She was a civilian flight instructor. She was shot at by the Japanese, but she escaped mid-air collision and she was able to land safely. The flight of B-12 B-17s coming from the mainland finally arrived and were immediately attacked by the Zeros. Unfortunately, in all the confusion, the B-17s were shot up by friend and foe. The fighting crews landed wherever they could, one of them in a pineapple field not far from Hickam Field. A B-17 pilot, Major Landon, trying to land, said, "What a hell of a way to enter a war. Out of gas, unarmed, and no place to land." Amazingly, though, 12 of the B-17s actually made it to Hickam Field. Admiral Yamamoto, the mastermind of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, said, "I fear all we have done is to waken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." Well, he was right. At the conclusion of the surprise attack on Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, more than half of America's entire naval fleet had been destroyed or damaged. Nearly 2,400 Americans were killed, over 1,200 women, and 960 people were missing. 188 aircraft were destroyed, 159 damaged, and just 155 of our aircraft were left on the ground. 2 battleships were destroyed, 3 light cruisers, 3 destroyers, and a total of 6 battleships were damaged. Our greatest naval base lay in ruins, along with our complacency. The following day, December 8, 1941, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt announced our entry into World War II with these words to Congress, the citizens of the United States, and the world.
Yesterday,
Did you see our P-40 Warhawk fly right through here? It's pretty amazing. Admiral Yamamoto, the mastermind of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, said, "I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with terrible resolve." Well, he was right. In the 44 months of fighting that followed, the United States sank every one of the Japanese aircraft carriers, battleships, and cruisers that were part of the Pearl Harbor Task Force. Nagasaki, the city where the special armor-busting bombs were made, was destroyed by a U.S. atom bomb on August 9th, 1945. And a little less than a month later, when the Japanese surrender document was signed on September 2nd, among the U.S. warships present in Tokyo Bay was our battleship, the West Virginia. Will you please bow your head and join me in a moment of silence in memory of all of those who lost their lives that infamous day. Thank you. We do not mean to promote nationalism or glorify war by this demonstration. We simply honor a time when our nation was strong and united. In the 3.5 years after this attack, we, the people of the United States, grew stronger by putting 1,600 million men in uniform, built 100,000 fighter aircraft, 98,000 bombers, 24,000 transport planes, 58,000 trainers, 22 aircraft carriers, over 1,000 floating ships from battleships to submarines, and countless of thousands of ground vehicles. The United States of America's dedication led to the surrender not only of Japan, but Nazi Germany as well, giving peace and freedom to the entire world. We do this in appreciation of that dedication, determination, and effort, and extend our appreciation from the men and women here at Tinker Air Force Base fighting for our freedom today. We salute them all, past, present, and future. Tora, Tora, Tora. Get your cameras ready. We got a special salute here to everybody here at Tinker Air Force Base. Well, how about that, Tinker Air Force Base? What'd you think? Yeah, that's our Tora Wall of Fire, presented by our bomb squad, led by Ben West and his team. Guys are going out there to... Here comes our guys. They're going to come on in here for their photo passes now. So from your left, incoming here is our Tora lead, Doug Durr, from the Woodlands, Texas. Here we go. Here's Doug in our 0115. He's followed by second-generation pilot Patrick Hutchins at Bayou Vista, Texas. Here is our 0113 with Mike Anderson from Muskogee, Oklahoma. Here's our Ron White in 0112. He is from Huntsville, Texas. Dan Reedy and Chad Thurman from Pearland, Texas. And here's our Kate right up here with Pi. That's Daniel Rasmussen and Joe Gamesfelder from Midland, Texas. And coming here is Mike Hastings and Trevor Henson from Tulsa, Oklahoma and Kansas City, Missouri. Here's our Kate. 310 with Lance Summers and Miles Turner from Fort Worth, Texas and Midland, Texas. Here's our American P-36 Warhawk with Chris Walker from Palestine, Texas. Our P-40 pilot today was Taylor Stevenson. In 1965, his grandfather, Edwin Schmidt, was actually commander of Tinker Air Force Base. Taylor's from Dallas, Texas. These air shows are all about American military forces. It's an opportunity to highlight Tinker Air Force Base, as well as a chance to show off community relations that are so vital and important for continued success. But more than anything, it's a chance to give people a glimpse into the extraordinary capabilities of our people and equipment. TOR's purpose within this air show, with our little history lesson, is to show the evolution of our military and what it was to what you see here today. On December 7, 1941, it was a pivotal moment in U.S. history. Europe had already been on fire for 2 years, and despite the best efforts of some incredibly smart people, we did not have the most professional and powerful military in the 1940s. For that lack of foresight, planning, and commitment, the sons and daughters of this nation paid a terrible price. We think that's worth remembering, and we hope you do as well. TOR is a part of the Kimmerman Air Force. All of our team members are volunteers, and we love what we do. We would like to encourage you to follow us on social media and visit our website at tour.com for more information and our show schedule. I am your narrator today. My name is Denise Walker. We would like to thank the people here at Tinker Air Force Base for letting us perform for you, and we are Tora.
Thank you, Denise. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Tora. Still to come, Team Tinker. Some of the aircraft that are based here at Tinker Air Force Base. This huge Level 1 depot facility where aircraft come to be stripped down to their bare skin and refurbed as like new aircraft. The Tora aircraft recovering. We'll be launching those in just a moment. Tinker Federal Credit Union is always a friend to Tinker Air Force Base and the thousands of airmen and airwomen and families. Each year, TFCU is a major partner with the air show. They've got no-fee ATMs located on the flight line next to the main hangar for all your cash money needs. We also want to thank Integrated Resource for printing our airshow collaterals and materials, including the Tinker Airshow map, sponsored by Loves. You always go the distance when meeting our printing needs. And thank you to Jillian and your amazing team with Lettering Express for the airshow signage. Lettering Express, the best option for vehicle wraps, signage, and special lettering needs. This year, our VIP chalet is presented by Devon Energy, Sam's Club, Anheuser-Busch, and U.S. Foods. It takes a mighty team to help take care of all of our sponsors, guests, and distinguished visitors. If you're thirsty, this year's air show is sponsored in part by Sam's, who has donated over 36,000 bottles of water for all of the augmentees, security forces, and hardworking people who were behind the scenes during the hot summer and air show time. Cavender's Family Auto Group is the official auto dealership for the Tinker Air Show, and most of our pilots are ginning around town in a Cavender's car. Thanks to Cavender's Family Auto Group for providing me, George Klein, and our fellow air show pilots and crew a car to drive while we're here in town. We also want to thank Tacos for Life, Santa Fe Cattle Company, Swadley's Barbecue, CR Head Country Barbecue Sauce, Casey's General Store Pizza, Schwab's Hot Dogs and Brats, Homeland, and Sara Lee Bread. Bar S Meats, Sam's Stores, Reed Convention Center, Anheuser-Busch, Milo's Iced Tea Lemonade, and Easy Ice. And thanks to U.S. Foods for providing us with refrigerated trucks. U.S. Foods can be your major source in the kitchen, at home, and at your next special event. Thanks to our Conventions and More, our tent company, making your event a dream come true. For all your rental needs, call Conventions and More. If you need to rent golf carts, call Clear Creek Golf Cart, the official golf cart company of the air show. We want to thank the Delta Hotel, the Hampton Inn Midwest City.
Welcome back here to Broadcast Central. Dan Hawkins, McKenna, day 2 of this 2023 Tinker Air Show rolling along. Don't forget the Blue Angels coming up at 3 o'clock, so the clock is ticking. But there's also a lot of other interesting things going on here at Tinker Air Force Base, and you don't necessarily need a uniform to serve your country. This next story really is a great example of just that. Our friend Clayton takes us out to the aluminum foundry right here at Tinker Air Force Base. Take a look.
You're looking at aluminum melted to over 1,400 degrees, being poured into a sand mold. Soon, this will become an aircraft part created in a process known as sand casting.
We are making aircraft parts to support pretty much all the aircraft or missile systems in the Air Force.
Bearings, housings, linkages, couplers, you name it, this team can probably make it. Big or small, the aluminum foundry can do it all.
We've got such old aircraft that we can't get parts for, or if we can get parts for, the lead times can be measured in years, and that's unacceptable. I'm standing up the foundry here so that we can be the DoD source for investment and sand cast parts.
Time isn't the only thing being saved here. Sand casting saves taxpayers a ton of money.
We are saving thousands or millions of dollars in the long run by doing it ourselves, because we're going to be able to do it far quicker and cheaper than we could go get elsewhere.
The team at the aluminum foundry continues to grow by the year, positions you don't need a college degree for.
In the long run, we're looking to hire other engineers who are experienced with foundry operations, and then ultimately workers to expand the shop that will actually do all the pouring of the metal back there.
At Tinker Air Force Base, I'm Clayton Cummins.
So just so many things happening here at Tinker that you probably would never even think about.
No, I definitely had no clue about that, so it's awesome to get to learn. And hearing all these interviews today, there's literally so much opportunity here.
It really is, and the air show continues to fly along here at Tinker Air Force Base. Let's send it back out to the narrator, Rob Ryder.
From which got its life from the basic Boeing design of this aircraft and the KC-135 Stratotanker. You have not as many people in the back, but a lot of people doing a lot of work. You about, a couple of dozen folks back there?
Yes. On a typical sortie, we can have 12 to 20 to 30. Max crew load would be 39 members on the E3. If you have a chance to visit one of the 2 static displays, you can see how many seats we have up there, and we'll have a mixture of certified crew members, instructors, evaluators, and sometimes even our maintainers on board to help troubleshoot.
It is an amazing amount of work that you have to do. Now, the aircraft has been around for a long, long time, but it has been continuously upgraded as technology has changed, and as the threats have changed as well.
Yes, definitely. So we're doing our best to keep up with the technology, but we've had quite a few of our retired prior AWACS brethren come up and see the big changes of our jet. We went from a trackball, keyboard, push button, get banana type system to now more keyboard, mouse, off-the-shelf Windows 7 maybe, like type of interface.
I hope it's better than Windows 7.
A lot more user-friendly, and then also a lot more capabilities came with that modification.
Yeah, and you've got flat panel displays, but all of that is to give all the operators a way to see their particular piece of the pie or the battle plan or the sky or the ground, and then coordinate that with the other crew members and then feed that out to all the command folks in the air and on the ground to give you an edge in the battle space to go for victory.
Absolutely. We also have a very robust comm sweep. So one of the best parts of our jet is that we can do multiple mission sets at the same time. So whether it's close air support, controlling our blue fighters, just getting data down to the ground to the guys that are in the fight, our comm suite helps out with that.
As we see the KC-135 Stratotanker come over, this is the upgraded version with the CFM56 engines, each of which generates, I want to say, F-117, 40,000 pounds of thrust, 21,000 pounds of thrust each in that. I think, is that right, George? Is that the right number? Yeah, that's right. Perfect. At any rate, that airplane led to the development of the Boeing 707, and it was in Seattle, Washington, back in the day when the aircraft was first being introduced to the public, the Boeing 707 passenger liner, the first one ever. That test pilot for Boeing, Tex Johnson, literally rolled the airplane upside down and brought it into right side up and did it a second time. He was chewed out big time by Boeing executives, but it turned out it was the right thing to do because it said to the public, this airplane is safe, and it gave it quite an edge. The KC-135 now here comes with the old TF-33 smoking old engines. This is the E-3 Sentry. I don't see any windows. I don't see windows at all there.
No, actually, for the mission crew in the back of the jet, the only windows we have are little portholes that are on the overwing hatches in our main crew and galley entry doors. So these, if you can imagine, these little like portholes, basically, like if you will on a Navy ship that we can look out of whenever we want to kind of gain a horizon. If we just want to see the sun, we walk up to the flight deck and we're able to kind of stand there and talk to our bros that are flying the aircraft.
Pretty cool. Our air boss, George Klein, asked me a question, Jet. He said, what is the yellow stripe on the bottom of the KC-135 Stratotanker? And my assumption is, and I don't have a crew member, and you don't have a crew member here to tell us, but it has to do, I believe, with lining up for the receiver aircraft to be in the perfect position for the boomer to put the boom into the refueling receptacle of the receiver aircraft. Okay, George just talked to the pilot. We are correct. Thank you, George. When in doubt, just call the guy up on the radio. Works for us. It is really amazing to think that 800 KC-135s were built, just shy of 800. 400 of them got the new engines that we're seeing here, and you can see now the boomer. I do believe the boom is extended. The boomer, he or she lies on his or her stomach in the back of the aircraft.
Back here at Broadcast Central, we have with us Tracy Manuel, the 2023 Teacher of the Year. Tracy, congratulations. That is amazing. And thank you so much for taking the time to sit and chat with us today. How are you enjoying the air show so far?
I'm really enjoying it. This is my first air show. I have a lot of military background, but I've never been able to experience an air show. So I'm here with my sister teacher friends, and we're having a blast in the heat, but having a blast.
That's awesome. So I'm sure you're going to get to walk around and experience more of it after this. And we have the Blue Angels coming up at 3 o'clock. Are you excited to see that?
Really excited, and I'm excited to be on ground this time.
Yeah. So with being the Oklahoma Teacher of the Year, that's so amazing. Can you give us a little bit of background on your career?
Well, I've been in education now over 13 years, and I've been teaching education over 13 years, but I've been in the system for 20 years. I had a real unique experience going into education. I started off as a TA, long-term TA meaning teacher assistant, starting off as a long-term sub as well, moving from long-term sub, teacher assistant, to parent facilitator, and finally certified classroom teacher. So I'm really excited. I come from a background of educators, and a part of my story is that when I was in high school, school for me wasn't always an easy experience, but I had a village surrounding me, and they pushed me through. And one of my high school counselors told me when I went in for my senior meeting after she looked at my data, she said, you know, Tracy, I'm not really sure that you have an option, really any options for yourself. And so it was devastating, but because I had a village behind me, they told me I can't let one person determine my future. So I kept going from there. And, you know, I'm here today. And
Look
so
at you now.
It's a miracle.
This year, Oklahoma Teacher of the Year,
Yeah.
You proved her wrong. That's awesome.
Well, and I think that it shows the value of not only teachers as mentors, but anybody can really be that mentor or coach for somebody and a role model. And so, you know, obviously thanks to you and all teachers who take on that role every single day. But I'm very curious, you know, we talked a little bit about you, but like, can you talk about your high school, Booker T. Washington in Tulsa? I would love to hear about the students and what you love about being a part of that community.
Well, we call ourselves the Booker T. Washington World Class Magnet High School, and we are the top magnet high school in Tulsa Public Schools and one of the top in the nation. We rank in, I believe, the top 10 when it comes to our programming. We offer a lot to students from our International Baccalaureate program to our AP programs to over 8 languages the students can take, to a lot of the programs that they can travel with internationally, to, of course, the English classroom, to so much that we offer. We've produced a lot of athletes, people who are in the academy, wherever they are, they're doing well in their fields.
So the theme of this year's air show is STEM Takes Flight. And you mentioned us earlier, you're an English teacher, but can you speak to the importance of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and just how important that is for the future generations?
We're sad as English teachers we're never included in that, but we definitely help with the STEM program. I think that's real important for students now, seeing the fact that STEM is obviously a going thing, and it definitely helps us, I will even say in the English field, with the AI that's coming, the artificial intelligence, because some of the time we're not as up to date on those things. But for students, looking at the opportunities that they have, and I was looking at this air show today, and it makes me think of the community that I'm from, and not all of these kids are exposed to these things. So I said, man, at the state level, I think it's important that all children be exposed. I see so many wonderful children here with their family, but I look at my community and everyone can't get here. So look at programs to see how can I help students to make sure that they get a chance to get exposed to STEM opportunities. So that's one of the things I'll be pushing this year. So I'm really happy to be here and to learn more myself about these opportunities and amazing things that you all do in your field.
Yeah, so as you look around, I mean, and you see the kids and you see the families that are here and the value of role models, you talked about it, but how do you see your role as a teacher? Like, what are the values you kind of live on? And ultimately, obviously, you're pretty good at it, winning some awards.
Well, when I look at values, oftentimes people will hear me speak on the 3 Ds. It's what I learned early in my teaching career, which is desire, discipline, and dedication. And you need those in any field of life that you go into, right? So when we look at boys and girls into the have them in the classrooms every day, they have to have the discipline to come to school, the discipline to be able to make the grades, and the discipline to be able to see how this can be affect them long term. We talk about determination. If they have the discipline, then they're definitely going to form the determination to get to the end goal, because it's not always clear, especially for the students that I teach. And then if they have the determination, that's definitely going to give them the desire to know that I too can do it. Miss Manuel did it, others did it, and I can too. There are 44,000 teachers across the state of Oklahoma. I was the one selected, but I am not the best teacher. I was just the one here to represent teachers. So I am very glad. I look at the saying that says, if you ever heard of the poem, A Road Not Taken, and I look at that particular poem and I say, it's not that it's just the road not taken, it's the road that you take that makes all the difference in the lives of students. And as long as I give that back to them, I am a success, because they are my successors. So I look forward to showing them all these opportunities that I'm able to do, to take that back to the classroom, to say, hey, you have the desire, the discipline, and the dedication, let's go for it.
Well, as a parent who's had kids go through classrooms, I really respect all of you, what you do, and congratulations again. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, and thank you all for having me here.
Thanks.
So we got a package coming up here from Clayton, who's been out in the field talking to everybody, talking about, the desire to excel, and that Miss Manuel talked about. So let's toss it out to Clayton as he talks to a B2 pilot with some close ties here to Oklahoma.
In addition to the air show itself, there are tons of static displays you can take a look at here at Tinker Air Force Base, and I'm so excited for this one. We've got the B2 on static display. Folks can get an up-close and personal look at the aircraft, snap some pictures, talk to the pilots. Speaking of pilots, I've got one of them right here. This is Captain Curtis. He goes by Shady. You have to be shady to fly this thing.
You absolutely have to. You've got to do that. There's no other way to do it.
Captain Curtis, talk a little bit about this aircraft. This is a unique Air Force aircraft. Stealth is the name of the game here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And not only is it like a unique Air Force asset, but this is a unique asset in the world. Nowhere else in the world has a stealth nuclear bomber. We are one of the kind. And what we do for this nation with the defense is a privilege to be part of.
You're so cool. You actually got your start right here at Tinker Air Force Base. What?
I did, yeah. I actually started out in the E3 a few years ago. I was here for about 3.5 years and got to start out and switch over to the B2.
Yeah. A lot of folks have been asking, what is it like to fly the B2? You're one of the few people in the country that do. And this is no Delta. This is no American airline. This is no commercial flight.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy because it doesn't have a tail, so you would think it flies differently, but it's very much similar to every other jet. It's super smooth and super stealthy. It's amazing flying like in a formation and just seeing the other B-2s in front of you just gliding through the air.
Yeah, if you're not looking for it in the sky, you're not going to see it. That's the point.
Exactly, yeah. You're going to completely miss it, and that's what we want to have happen.
What's it like for you being here, kind of back at where things started again? I mean, folks are fascinated by this. This has to be really cool to interact with folks in the area again.
Yeah, I love being back. It's been a while since I've been back to Tinker, and just seeing the old stomping ground is great. I'm glad, super happy we got to bring the jet out to show people. People have been talking about how they haven't seen it for years, but they remember the last time they saw it, and to be able to show the people of Oklahoma and the nation our jet and what we do and talk about our mission has been amazing.
Too much fun. We're so happy you're here. Thanks so much for taking some time to
you.
Chat with us. The B2, along with all of the other static displays here at Tinker, will be on display until the end of the air show today at 5 o'clock. So make sure you step over here and get a look at this aircraft. It is quite the display. Back to you.
Supervising the work of all of the sensor operators, both officer and enlisted, who are working in the back of the E3.
Yes, sir. So for a lot of our retirees that have come up to the E3 to look at the jet that they spent 20 plus years on, and or maintainers that also worked on our tail, a lot of things have changed as far as how our crew construct has worked in the back end. And it's pretty much a 50-50 ratio of officers and enlisted members that work on the back of the aircraft.
The KC-135 touching down.
We saw the C-17 flying through the skies earlier this morning, and the pilot of that C-17 is sitting here with us right now, Major John Crawley. Thanks so much for taking the time to sit with us.
Hey, thanks for having us. We really enjoyed it.
How are you enjoying the air show?
It's been a great time. I'll tell you what, Tinker Air Force Base puts on a good air show here, and we've enjoyed it. All the acts have been great. The host, as Tinker, has been awesome for us. We have no complaints.
So you're at Altus Air Force Base, part of the 97th Air Mobility Wing there at Altus. And tell us a little bit about the C-17 and then what you specifically do in your day-to-day role flying down at Altus.
Yeah, so the C-17, its primary role is that rapid global mobility, kind of be able to project military power all over the world at any time. We move cargo, we move personnel, helicopters, whatever it has to be, aeromedical evac. So we move things all over the world. Other things with the wing as well. We got the KC-135 that you saw perform as well, and then the Pegasus, the KC-46. And so it's our tanker brethren there. They also have the ability to move cargo as well. So they're not only out there refueling planes, but they're moving cargo all over the world just like us. That's our big mission there at AETC. I'm one of the instructor pilots there at the 97th Air Mobility Wing, fly for the 58th Airlift Squadron. And we train all crew members that fly the C-17, any course from brand new co-pilots to experienced aircraft commanders, instructor school that go through there. Same thing in the back as well with the load masters, and as well on the tanker side for boom operators and pilots on theirs as well.
Awesome. And what was it that initially inspired you to join the Air Force?
I think two things. So my father is a retired master sergeant in the Air Force. He did 21 years himself, and so I think following kind of in his footsteps, and then also coming to see air shows like this. Growing up, living on base, watching those airplanes fly in. Specifically, I used to see C-17s fly in up to Elmendorf, Alaska all the time, and I was like, I want to fly that airplane. To where I kind of set my goals to that and then went forward, and I got lucky enough out of pilot training to be able to fly the C-17.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, I know when you're in pilot training, there's a process. You don't just walk in the front door on the first day of pilot training and say, well, I think I'm going to fly that plane.
Yeah.
So can you talk about what the path is, to becoming a pilot through that pilot training process?
Yeah, so we first start out in the T6, kind of the newer model of the T6 is the old T6 model you saw in the Tora show here. You fly that, and then based on that, you kind of go two different paths. You go the mobility world, which is the T1, kind of the tanker track, mobility track side, or you can go the T38 if you want to go through the fighter track, and then from those two airframes, after all the grade sheets are done, flights are done, you get racked and stacked, and then you put in a wish list, and that's when you kind of divert to your actual MWSs that you go fly around the world. And so I was lucky enough. I got C-17s my first shot there, and I actually got stationed back in Elmendorf, kind of where my dream started of flying there, the C-17s.
Wow, that's awesome.
So what was your backup plan? C-17 and then?
Actually, believe it or not, it was C-17 or stay at the pilot training base as a FAPE, the first assignment instructor pilot. So, we got some over here at the static displays. So
FAPE Mafia.
Yeah, FAPE Mafia. So I got lucky. I got that first choice, C-17, though.
So if anyone's out here at the air show, they can go talk to those guys and hear a little bit about what it's like, and maybe even be inspired to join themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the crowd's been great. We've been talking to a lot of folks over there at the autograph booth, rocking around everything.
Yeah.
No, it's been awesome. We've got a lot of young talent out here that's looking to fly airplanes someday, so it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and we've been asking all of our guests about this, the theme of the air show, STEM.
Yep.
How important is the science, technology, engineering, mathematics with a job like yours?
Yeah, I think it applies to everything. So as part of being a pilot, it's not only, the hand skills of being able to fly, but really it's all about the math when it comes, when do I need to descend, when do I need to slow down? So you're doing a lot of math that's involved with it, and whether that's from us up top flying the airplane or even our enlisted folks of load masters in the back of, making sure that the weight and cargo of everything, they're out there doing a way more complicated math than I've ever done upstairs to make sure the plane is safe for me to go fly. So I got to be able to inherently trust them, and they entrust me to be able to get them from point A to B.
I'm watching the screen because I'm looking at that particular maneuver.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's STEM written all over it to actually accomplish
Oh,
that.
absolutely. The engineering that goes into these airplanes to be able to make them fly the way they do, and to be able to get two airplanes, we're holding about 100 feet there from them, but when we go do this in real life, we're sitting at 15, 20 feet connected up with another airplane. There's a lot that goes into it.
I think this every time I see any aircraft in the sky. How is that thing up there? But especially with the C-17.
Yeah, all the engineering behind that is it's an incredible airplane to fly. They did a great job designing that airplane, and to imagine that it's 30 years old now, it's kind of hard to believe, but she still flies great.
Well, sir, we certainly appreciate your time stopping by. We certainly, as we look at the pictures on the screen, appreciate what you do for our nation every day. We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on. Thanks for enjoying us. We appreciate all the support, of course, everyone out there flying.
That was Major John Crowley from the 97th Air Mobility Wing in Mobility's hometown, Altus, Oklahoma. Let's pitch it back out to the air show narrator, Rob Ryder.
Peach! Wow! I can't hear you, folks. And Kent wants to thank the folks at Jelly Belly and also Sporty's Pilot Shop for the PJ2 radio that he's been using to communicate with us here on the ground. Thank you, Kent. Congratulations. What a tremendous display. He has done all 3 flights today. And believe it or not, Kent is going to be headed up to Minnesota later today in that same airplane as he heads on to his next show. Thank you, Kent Peach. Way to go. Absolutely fantastic. Coming up in just a few moments, the United States Air Force's F-35 Lightning II, an aircraft that is known as the Joint Strike Fighter. We are holding just for a little bit.
That was a beautiful shot of Oklahoma City, day 2 of this Tinker Air Force Base Air Show. Rolling along, the F-35 is about to take off. I know the crowd's getting excited. And we have another special guest from Altus Air Force Base, Mobility's hometown, out at Altus Air Force Base. That's just down the road. It's Major Vic Bro from the 54th Air Refueling Squadron, and you fly a pretty cool airplane, the KC-135.
Schoolhouse, so we're able to teach people. I mean, the airplane's older than a lot of us, so we make sure that we're keeping it in good shape for the kind of the next generation of air crew coming through.
So you've been here all weekend, and you've had the chance to fly a couple times with your partners down there at Altus, the C-17. But can you talk through that aerial demonstration of what you guys actually demonstrated? Basically, without gas, you're not getting very far.
Right.
So, talk about maybe the KC-135 and its role in the big picture
Sure.
of producing air power.
Yeah, so KC-135, big picture is we're out there to provide gas to kind of the warfighter. So we're out there giving gas to fighter aircraft, bomber aircraft, the heavy aircraft. You saw our buddies in the C-17 up there. So we train for that all the time. But beyond that, we're also carrying cargo. We're carrying medical personnel, so we do aeromedical evacuation. I won't say frequently, but it does. Yeah, we train for it. But big picture, we're out there extending the fight. We're able to kind of, it's that big force projection is really what we look for with the 135.
Yeah, so when you think about your role in the big picture, talk about your role at Altus and training pilots to actually accomplish that. I mean, that's a pretty heavy task.
It is, yeah, and it's an older jet, but our maintainers do an excellent job keeping it running, and we're out there training new crews. We got all our co-pilots, aircraft commanders, new instructors coming through, so it's our responsibility to teach them and keep this, amazing aircraft continuing to fly.
So I'm gonna bring it in with the STEM tie-in. There obviously is a math that goes into this, because not only are you flying on the fuel that you have, and then you have to know how much fuel to have for everybody else that you're going to be refueling.
Yeah. So It takes a decent amount of practice to get to it, but since we use all the same fuel, our fuel is the same fuel that we're giving to everybody else. So if we take off at 165,000 pounds of fuel, and we're expected to give a specific offload to somebody. Now our totalizer gauge, in terms of how much we've offloaded, doesn't work great. So at that point, it's kind of incumbent on the pilots to make sure that we know exactly how much fuel we have, how much we're giving off, how much time. So we're constantly running math back and forth. Simple division and addition is really the big thing. But so we're calculating how much fuel we've burned in the amount of time just by knowing how much fuel we're using on the engines, and then we can take our total fuel, subtract how much fuel we just knew we used by 4 engines, and then how much gas we have at the end of it, and that tells us exactly how much we've offloaded. But that's something we're constantly doing, at 300 miles per hour, spinning in a circle, making sure we don't leave our safe airspace.
Yeah, and you can see a demonstration of that. That was earlier today. And, sir, we talked with Major Crowley, who was flying the C-17. Obviously, you're in the KC-135. But is that as nerve-wracking as it seems like it would be?
Not really. I mean, we train for it. This is our job. This is what we do every day. But, especially as they get a little closer in, so they, in that position they're somewhere between 50 and 100 feet behind us. Once they get to about that 50-foot point, they're starting to push us because they're another big aircraft pushing up, and so we have to know how to counteract that, and we're constantly working to maintain our contract altitude and airspeed. That way we're able to effectively get the mission done.
Yeah, so how long have you actually been in the Air Force? I'm just curious. We didn't really ask you that up front.
I've commissioned in 2013, so I've been about 10 years now.
All right, well, thank you for your service. We certainly appreciate what you do for the nation every single day, and you definitely inspired a lot of people out here today.
It's a lot of fun.
So Major Vic Bro from Altus Air Force Base flying the KC-135. But finding new ways to fix old problems, that's the goal of the next group you're about to meet here at Tinker Air Force Base. They play a huge part in coming up with new ways to fix airplane engines. Clayton, out in the field, is going to show us how the work is done.
Tucked away inside Building 3001 at Tinker is the Process Repair Operations and Critical Tooling Lab, often referred to as PROACT for short.
The main things we do here is design repairs for engine parts. We create new repairs for the Air Force to use and new ways to keep planes flying. Beyond that, we have to come up with new tooling, new fixtures for these new processes.
This level of innovation wouldn't be possible without the latest and greatest technologies in additive manufacturing. There is rarely a project this group says no to.
We have full control over our process here. We don't have to wait for a contractor, or there's no middleman in our process here. They come to us, we fix the problem, we solve it, and we get that solution implemented as fast as we can.
PROACT relies heavily on the use of 3D scanners and printers.
This is the scan that just came up from that scan we just saw run there.
This lab has the ability to create and print a new tool in just hours.
With our 3D printers, we can make tools from scratch real quick. We can see my designs come to life and then being used in processes all across base here. I think that's the beauty of the job.
The additive manufacturing career field is exploding right now. A promising future where the sky is the limit.
You see a plane take off and you immediately know what engine it's on it, and you know, oh, I made this tool for this process, this tool for this process. It's just a great feeling to know that the people that we're supporting and the things that we're doing here at Tinker Air Force Base.
At Tinker Air Force Base, I'm Clayton Cummins.